All right, everybody's in there. Oh.
All right. We all know what our IQ is, but do you know what emotional intelligence is? Emotional intelligence is your level of ability to understand someone, their needs, and work within the boundaries to help them adjust to emotional responses. Psychology is my major, and because of this, that is a topic that we discuss in various classes that we have, so I wanted to discuss this with you and expand upon it further. This is going to help everyone know themselves better, as well as their capabilities and what they can do when they're interacting with not just their own emotional needs, but the needs of someone else. Today I will be discussing what exactly emotional intelligence is, why it's more important than your IQ, and what we can do to better improve our emotional intelligence. As I said, emotional intelligence is our ability to not just read a room, but also to decipher when our friend is sad. Emotional intelligence is also mistaken a lot of the time for agreeableness or someone who is calm. It is also something that helps us gain emotional information from a room as well as an individual. It helps us improve our thoughts to adjust to a tense situation or a happy situation, and it improves our outlook on the world that is presented to us. As described by Michael Ackers and Grover Porter, there are 5 major categories. The first is self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills. All help us understand and motivate to work cooperatively. This is an emotional intelligence test that I took. There are the 5 areas, and those are my results. To the test, I will go through my results later on in my presentation. But all of these 5 categories seem like a no-brainer. Yes, I can incorporate it, but it's really what we can do to improve those 5 areas and grow upon them as you would your IQ. That is really the key point in improving your emotional intelligence. So this leads us to why it's more important than your IQ. So when you walk into an interview, let's say that you're going for an interview at Disney and you go into the room and you think, is math going to help me with this interview, or is it really reading what the interviewer and various other interviewers are going to be giving you as far as their emotional cues, their facial expressions? It's really going to be their emotional cues that is going to tell you whether or not you're doing well or not. That is what emotional intelligence is. It also will help us deal with the stress of that situation. If you are there and freaking out, is it really the best idea to run screaming out of the room? I don't think so. Emotional intelligence is going to help you put that fear, lock it down, and handle the situation better and reassess and be able to push through that feeling of angst. Research shows that IQ counts for roughly 10%, at best 25% of success, and the rest is dependent upon your emotional intelligence. And that study was done by Ackers and Porter in 2018. Research also shows that people who have a higher intelligence are more able to be in tune with themselves. They can detect when they are having an emotional related response in a situation and make an adjustment to recognize and reason about emotional consequences to upcoming events. That study was done by Gant and Stife in 2016. And by that they mean if they see themselves getting really angry, they can recognize that, and instead of making the anger response and freaking out and maybe getting into a fight or a disagreement, they can tone themselves down, take a deep breath, and take the alternate path of less resistance and go the opposite direction with it. So I ask you this: can you see when someone is in need, or when you yourself are in need to take a reevaluation of the situation before falling down that rabbit hole? So that brings me to my next point, is what are the improvements that we can make to better equip ourselves to have a higher emotional intelligence? Never has anyone said, I know everything that I need to know in the world. We can all make improvements to be better selves. So the things that we can do are recognize, name, know the difference between a feeling and an action, try and have better anger management skills, as well as have a better self-worth, and try to not go outward and be negative toward other individuals. When you implement these changes in your behavior for the better, you will see an improvement in your focus, as well as your empathy, your listening, your understandings in relationship, your social settings. And that brings me to my results, where it tells me that for myself, I require attention in my awareness, my emotional management. I could consider strengthening my my social emotional awareness. I can use that as leverage to strengthen my weaker areas. And then my relationship management I could use to consider strengthening as well. So as we can see, everybody can always use just a little bit of improvement. Daniel Goleman, who is the pioneer of emotional intelligence, says that anyone who has character and being able to motivate and guide oneself, as we've seen, with the ability to defer gratification and control and change one's urges to act, is a basic emotional skill, is one that we would like to call someone who has will. And I think that that definitely applies to anyone. We need to remember that we all have the will to do what we want. So are we doing what we can to apply our emotional intelligence, not just for ourselves, but for everyone else? In conclusion today, we talked about what emotional intelligence is, why it's more important than IQ, and what we can do to improve not just ourselves, but the world out there. And I genuinely think that there's nothing greater than improving the world that is put out in front of us. Thank you.